Hey guys, Caitlin here. I wanted to try something a little different this week so you can hear my voice and hear the passion in it when I talk about this particular topic. So, to get started, I want to discuss why build it and they will come is total bullshit. See, once upon a time, there was this newfangled World Wide Web that would allow people from across the world to find, access, and share information in a central area. Started with limited access because we were all on dial up. And this is when, if I were in a radio host, I would cue the sound of phone line takeover in order to connect to the interwebs. If you were there at that time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. At first it was really boring, but it was novel, so the more people jumped onto it, the more it grew and evolved. There were no data restrictions, no streaming, no Netflix, no Hulu. Things loaded slowly, but we began to love it. Around Y2K, teenagers like myself were all over the US going home from school to jump online in chat rooms in AOL, Yahoo Messenger, Hotmail, to meet people from across the country and our own friends from school, which was just talking to each other in a new way. I know, there were better things we could have been doing. But then there was MySpace and customizing it with little snippets of code that we didn't even realize was code, and Facebook, and then everybody hopped on Facebook. And now even members of mine in their mid-80s are online checking emails and sending emails, and even my mother-in-law, who is not very tech-savvy, has learned to use emojis in her text messages. Y'all, I'm not kidding, but I'm also kind of proud. So how has this drastic change over time affected the way businesses have to show up online? Why build it and they will come doesn't work anymore. It implies stagnation, atrophy, apathy, death. I really don't mean to be dramatic here, but think of it this way. You wouldn't just go to a random place to buy a piece of land, build a house on it, walk out to the driveway, and wait for a buyer to drive up with cash in hand, right? Of course not. It's fucking ridiculous. You have to tell people about it for them to know it exists, which means you have to work. Now more than ever during the pandemic, there are companies and individuals and side hustlers and kids and grandparents video chatting with family across the world, and online traders and dark web users and hackers and legitimate people all online at the same time. It's how our online space has evolved and how many of us are on it now all at once, literally doing all the things. You probably aren't the only one doing what you do anymore. The thing is, there's like 8 billion people in the world, and a very large portion of them have at least periodic or limited access to the internet. Take any topic you can think of. Subscription-style boutique, Stitch Fix, online yoga classes, Om practice, remote nutrition appointments for binge eating, video calls with Betsy Thurston, nutritional education, Kelly LeVeque, healthy recipes and motivation / inspiration, Brittany Williams of the instant loss success or whatever. You should totally look her up on Instagram. She's pretty cool. Screwing the 9 to 5, Jill and Josh Stanton of, you guessed it, Screw the 9 to 5. How to take care of succulents and sunshine. How to fly fish, Jordan of Interior Fly Fishing Company. The list goes on and on. See? Odds are someone else is already doing what you are trying to do in the world, but that doesn't really mean you can't do it if they are. How to enter the system when you aren't doing something unique. Look, I won't lie to you. I don't have this all figured out yet, and I probably never will. But you know why? There's a lot to learn, and it's always changing and evolving. So entrepreneurship means you never stop learning and you never stop growing, which is what I love about it. But what I do know are these 7 things. 7 tips for online success. It takes time. No one is successful overnight. I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth, and sometimes that hurts. I get it. I really do. The waiting sucks. It's a hard pill to swallow, and you can drive yourself crazy thinking about it, but just keep pushing. Dory style. The truth is, no one's success truly happens overnight. Not Marie Forleo, Not Oprah, not Amy Porterfield, not Michael Jackson, Ray Charles, Drake, The Weeknd, Albert Einstein, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Alexander Graham Bell, not even the Beatles. No one. It just seems like it because we hear about them right at their big break moment. But prior to that, you can bet your ass they've been busting theirs to get to that big break moment. That was a lot of alliteration. Number 2, you have to find a way to stand out from the crowd. It's not enough anymore to jump in and say, "I'm here, everybody, come find me." You have to find a way to make sure that what you're doing is unique. It can be the way that you make something, the platform you use, maybe your process is super unique, but it doesn't really matter. What you have to do is find a way to make yourself stand out. This is also called your unique seller proposition, or USP, also known as your onlyness factor, which you know if you're a CFC student like me. Hi, y'all. Number 3, don't be a generalist. Ever heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none? If you're saying yes to every idea or project or buyer, doing hashtag all the things, learning everything, you're not mastering any of it. That's not to say you can't do those things well, but you can't master it all if you're not focused on any of it. Number 4, find your niche and get specific. This has been a really hard one for me, I'll admit. My niche has been evolving for years. I don't know how much you know about where I came from, but back in 2015, I think it was, I had an Etsy shop, which I sold one thing to some person. So obviously I'm in a much different place now than I was. I want to be known for something, not everything. The best way to do that is to focus, drill down, niche down, get specific on who you want to work with, what you want to work on, how and when you want to work, etc. Number 5, talk about it often. With so much noise in the world, you can't just post about it once and watch the sales come in. It just doesn't work like that anymore. Tell people what you do, often, on repeat, consistently, in different ways. Don't be slimy, sleazebag salesman about it, but if you can keep your service top of mind and deliver that reminder in the form of real value, it will work in your favor. And by value, I mean actionable freebies, a great newsletter, podcasts, blog posts, a video series, free workshops, giveaways, sales, discounts, memberships, courses. The list is endless. Number 6, find your one thing and own it. Don't get stuck in the trap of doing hashtag all the things all the time. If you're on Facebook and Insta and LinkedIn and Twitter and starting a TikTok and posting blog posts and pinning to Pinterest 50 times a day and networking in Facebook groups and posting videos on YouTube and starting a podcast and guest blogging and doing guest interviews on other people's podcasts and doing ads on Facebook and Google, and see where I'm going with this? Stop. Focus. This goes back to getting specific. Pick one thing, master it, and then you can pick up another one. An example, I blog 1 time a week. That's my chosen thing. I used to blog only every other week. I since changed that. I focus on the blogging and try to do it really well. I'm purposefully not very active on social media because I'm focusing on my blog. The result, with no paid ads, 82% of my traffic comes from organic searches on Google. 10% of my traffic comes directly to my website. 5% of my traffic comes from social media, and the rest is negligible. It doesn't matter what your one thing is, as long as you're focused on doing it 110%. If you need some help drilling down and focusing, you should definitely check out the podcast episode with guest Jamie Bouton, The Power of One Thing. And the link for that will be inside the blog post, so make sure you go check that out. Number 7, believe you can do it. Positivity can make all the difference. Learn to think about it with certainty, like you're knowing that the sun will always rise and set each day. Visualize it happening. Think about the success and what it will feel like. Make a vision board. Say mantras if it helps. Need some help with that? Check out this blog post with guest Carrie Green on James Wedmore's podcast. That episode is Visualizing Your Business into Existence, and the link to that is also in the post. My post specifically, not James Wedmore's, although I'm sure it's there too. One thing I've noticed, though, that truly matters in my own life is that when I'm looking for ways that something can't work, I always find them. And conversely, when I'm looking for ways that something will work, I still always find them. My point being that negativity has a way of stopping you in your tracks. It can bury you in that spot so deep that you can't even move to get out of it. Don't let that happen to you. If it means that you have to start a gratitude journal and force yourself to find positive things happening in your life or in your business each day, then do it. It doesn't have to be big things. It can be little things too. Try thinking about, if you're having a hard time thinking about this, just look at it this way. Sit down and think, what can I be thankful for today? I know that sounds like Sunday school, but it's simple. Just think, do I have a roof over my head? Do I have internet access? Do I have food to eat? Do I have a significant other that I enjoy being with? Do I have lots of friends? Do I have family? Do I have support with my business? Do I have a car that I like? Do I have a dog? I mean, it doesn't matter. Just give it a try. And I promise you, the more things that you look for, the more you will find. Remember this quote: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, by Henry Ford. Last thoughts. Websites can't be set it and forget it anymore if you want them to actively bring you customers or clients. With the sheer number of people on the web these days, you can't just launch your website to a room of one, you, and wait for people to find you and the sales to pour in. For one thing, Google doesn't like stagnant websites. A website that isn't updated often and consistently is considered to have outdated information, and you'll be penalized in your search rankings for it, which means you won't ever show up on page 1 for whatever it is, as long as you're never updating. So know what the stagnant websites don't do that. That's why people post blogs and podcasts and YouTubes, etc. Next, find your one thing and focus on mastering that before you try doing #all the things and burn yourself out. I've been there. It ain't pretty. My burnout was pretty mild, but I still took basically 6 months off my biz to heal and get past it. I could barely bring myself to blog each week, and I was blogging every other week. Come on. But most of those weeks, that's really all I could do for my business. Don't let yourself get to that point. Make sure that you take a minute to rest so that you can come back 1,000%. Next, do something every weekday that moves your business forward. Whether it's a post, networking, writing that blog, making that video, sending out inquiries about being a guest on someone's podcast, creating new freebies, writing to your email list, or even creating an email list. The to-dos are endless. I say weekday because everybody needs a balance and your schedule is your own, so make time for yourself to rest, whatever that looks like. Next is take the advice of people who are a step or two ahead of you, but also listen to your gut. I see this a lot in the Facebook groups that I'm in. People are always asking, what did you do when? How did you get out of this? What did it look like when are you doing X, Y, and Z? It doesn't always relate. So everybody's business is different, just like every person is different. Just because Gary Vee says it doesn't mean it's right for you. You can try the advice if you want, but if it feels wrong, you're not broken. Just pivot to something else or some other version of it that feels better. Doing something that feels really uncomfortable typically makes you really bad at it. And by being bad, it's not going to make you successful. Also, side note here, I don't mean that getting outside of your comfort zone is bad. It's good to start doing something that you might not be comfortable with. It's just bad to do something that you're not comfortable with doing because you know it's not right. There's a difference, so take note of that. So, if you hate doing video, then don't. If you hate the sound of your voice, then don't record a podcast. If you hate writing, then don't do a blog. Find something that you love and stick with it for a while, because you will have to push your business out into the world somehow. Next up, nothing is permanent anything can change. Whatever you decide to do doesn't have to be permanent or lasting. After all, it's your business. You can change it however you want. If you decide to blog, do it for 6 months, minimum. If you hate doing it and you find that out after 6 months, or even in month 3, switch to something else. It's not that big of a deal, but do it long enough that you really know in your heart that you're just not meant to do it. Consistency matters, but so does how much you love what you're doing. Last one, take the emotion out of it. This is such a big one. It's really helped me get started. We often fall into this failure trap, right? If you've ever launched to no one, asked a question and no one answered, offered a service that no one booked, or a product that no one bought, you're not a failure. Take the emotions out of it and learn to evaluate everything in your business like a scientist. Prior to that failed launch, ask yourself questions. What did you do? What did you not do? Did you have anyone asking for that service or product before you offered it? Did you have any reason or evidence that it would be successful? Did you talk about it enough? Did you use phrasing that maybe your ideal client or customer doesn't resonate with? Did you use terminology that just doesn't make sense? Did you seem too salesy? Was the offer priced too low, too high? James Wedmore says this all the time, and I'm paraphrasing here. Think of your business like an experiment. Form a hypothesis, implement it, study it, take notes of the results, use those results to grow and evolve and get better. That's how we learn. And eventually we get to a place of success, because if you fall down 999 times, it doesn't matter as long as you get up on the 1000th. Thanks so much for listening. That's all I have for today. If you'd like to go read through what I just talked about, or if you want those links to the podcasts I mentioned, make sure you go find the post at studio1862.com/blog and search for Build It. And then you should find it pretty easily. If you want more tips and motivation like this, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter so you can get my blog posts in your inbox each week. Thanks, guys.